Hello, I'm Caroline, welcome to my channel. In this video, I'd like to read a part of this book. This is How Psychology Works, and the facts visually explained. And I'm going to read a short section, and I really hope you enjoy it. Let's get started. This is How Memory Works. Every experience generates a memory. Whether it lasts depends on how often it's revisited. Intricate neural connections allow memories to form, and these can strengthen, aiding recall or fade away. What is memory? A memory is formed when a group of neurons fire in a specific pattern in response to a new experience. These neural connections can then refire in order to reconstruct that experience as a memory. Memories are categorized into 5 types. They are briefly stored in the short-term working memory, but can fade unless the experience is of emotional value or importance, in which case it is encoded in the long-term memory. In recalling a memory, the nerve cells that first encoded it are reactivated. This strengthens their connections, and if done repeatedly, solidifies the memory. A memory's component parts, such as related sounds or smells, reside in different areas of the brain, and in order to retrieve the memory, all of these brain parts must be activated. During recall, a memory can merge accidentally with new information, which fuses irrevocably with the original, known as confabulation. Endel Tulving explained memory as 2 distinct processes: storing information in long-term memory and retrieving it. The link between the two means that being reminded of the circumstances in which a memory was stored can act as a trigger to recall the memory itself. How memories form. The process of laying down or encoding a memory depends on many factors. Even once encoded, a memory can take 2 years to be firmly established. Number 1, attention. Focusing attention on an event helps to solidify the memory. The thalamus activates neurons more intensely, while the frontal lobe inhibits distractions. 0 to 2 seconds. 0 to 25 seconds. Emotion. High emotion increases attention, making an event more likely to be encoded into a memory. Emotional responses to stimuli are processed in the amygdala. 0 to 2 to 0 to 5 seconds. Sensation. Sensory stimuli are part of most experiences, and if of high intensity, they increase the chances of recollection. Sensory cortices transfer signals to the hippocampus. Types of memory. Episodic memory, recalling past events or experiences, usually closely linked with sensory and emotional information. Semantic memory, retaining factual information, such as the name of a capital city. Working memory, storing information temporarily, capable of holding between 5 and 7 items at any one time, also known as short-term memory. Procedural body memory, using learned actions that require no conscious recall, such as riding a bicycle. Implicit memory, bringing back an unconscious memory that influences behaviour, such as recoiling from a stranger reminiscent of someone unpleasant. Case study, Baddeley's divers. Studies by psychologists indicate that in retrieving memories, humans are aided by memory cues. British psychologist Alan Baddeley conducted an experiment in which a group of divers were asked to learn a list of words. They learned some words on dry land and some underwater. When they were later asked to recall the words, most divers found recall easier in the physical environment in which they had first memorized them. So it was easier to remember the words learned underwater when they went underwater. Baddeley's experiment suggested that context itself could provide a memory cue. Similarly, when a person goes to collect an object from another room, but on arriving cannot recall what they were looking for, often returning to the original room triggers that memory cue. Memory is the treasure and guardian of all things. Cicero, Roman politician. Naught to 5 seconds to 10 minutes. Working memory. Short-term memory stores information until needed. It is kept active by 2 neural circuits that incorporate the sensory cortices and the frontal lobes. 10 minutes to 2 years. Hippocampal processing. Important information transfers to the hippocampus where it is encoded. It can then loop back to the brain area that first registered it to be recalled as a memory. 2 years and onward. Consolidation. The neural firing patterns that encode an experience carry on looping from the hippocampus to the cortex. This firmly fixes and consolidates it as a memory. And this part of the book is called How Emotions Work. The emotions an individual feels on a daily basis dictate the type of person they feel they are. And yet it is a series of biological processes in the brain that generate every feeling a person has. What is emotion? Emotions impact hugely on people's lives. They govern their behaviour, give meaning to their existence, and are at the core of what is to be considered human. Yet in reality, emotions result from physiological responses in the brain, triggered by different stimuli. The psychological significance read into emotions is an entirely human construct. Emotions evolved to promote human success and survival by initiating certain behaviors. For example, feelings of affection prompt the desire to find a mate, reproduce, and live in a group. Fear generates a physiological response to avoid danger, fight or flight. Reading emotions in others makes social bonding possible. Processing emotion. The limbic system, located just under the cortex, generates all emotions. They are processed via two routes, conscious and unconscious. The primary receptor that screens the emotional content of all incoming stimuli is the amygdala, which signals to other areas of the brain to produce an appropriate emotional response. Connections between the limbic system and the cortex, in particular the frontal lobes, enable emotions to be processed consciously and experienced as valuable feelings. Each emotion is activated by a specific pattern of brain activity. Hatred, for example, stimulates the amygdala, which is linked to all negative emotion, and areas of the brain associated with disgust, rejection, action, and calculation. Positive emotion works by reducing activity in the amygdala and those cortical regions linked to anxiety. Conscious and unconscious emotive roots. Humans experience their emotional responses through an unconscious route, which is designed to prepare the body for rapid action, fight or flight, or via a conscious route which enables a more considered response to a situation. The amygdala responds to the threat and can detect stimuli before the person is even aware of it, provoking an automatic unconscious reaction. A simultaneous but slower transmission of sensory information to the cortex creates a conscious secondary route for the same stimulus and can modify this initial reaction. Thalamus, slow, accurate route to the conscious. Thalamus, all sensory information comes to the thalamus for distribution to the amygdala for quick assessment and action, and to the cerebral cortex for slower processing to conscious awareness. Sensory cortex. All sensory information comes to the sensory cortex for recognition. It extracts more information along this path, but the process takes longer than the unconscious route. Unconscious, amygdala. The amygdala instantly assesses incoming information for emotional content. It sends signals to other areas for immediate bodily action. It operates unconsciously and so is liable to make errors. Hippocampus. Consciously processed information is encoded in the hippocampus to form memories. The hippocampus also feeds back stored information, confirming or modifying the initial response. Hypothalamus. Signals from the amygdala come to the hypothalamus, which triggers hormonal changes that make the body ready for fight or flight in response to emotional stimuli. The muscles contract and the heart rate increases. Conscious intervention. Conscious facial expressions. The motor cortex allows a person to control facial expression and so hide or express genuine emotion. Feeling signals expression. Reflex facial expressions. The emotional reaction caused by the amygdala sparks spontaneous, uncontrolled facial expressions. Emotive behaviours and responses. Typical behavioural patterns in response to emotion have evolved in order to neutralise any perceived threat through either fight or appeasement. In contrast, moods last longer, are less intense, and involve conscious behaviours. Possible stimulus. Anger. Challenging behaviour from another person. Behaviour. Provokes an unconscious response and rapid emotion. Fight reaction. Prompts dominant and threatening stance or action. Fear. Threat from stronger or more dominant person. Behaviour. Provokes unconscious response and rapid emotion. Flight. Response avoids threat, or a show of appeasement indicates lack of a challenge to a dominant person. Sadness. Loss of a loved one. Behaviour. Conscious response dominates. Longer term mood, backward looking state of mind, and passivity avoid additional challenge. Unwholesome object disgust, such as rotting food. Provokes unconscious rapid response. Aversion prompts swift removal of self from unhealthy environment. Surprise. Novel or unexpected event. Provokes unconscious rapid response. Attention focuses on object of surprise to glean maximum information that guides further conscious actions. Human behaviour flows from desire, emotion, and knowledge. Plato, ancient Greek philosopher. Every emotion sparks a slightly different pattern of activity in the brain. And that's where I'll stop the video for now, and I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, I hope you join me for another video soon. Thank you for watching. Bye.